Summing up, there is, was, and will always be a degree of tension within the Jewish community as to the role that God is to play into one's day-to-day activities. At their extremes, each position is mutually exclusive of its polar opposite. Fortunately, most people place themselves somewhere between the two extremes. Pulling in one direction is a religious identity, one that places God and Judaism as a religion at the very center. The Jewishness component is subservient to the demands that the religion places upon the individual. This would reflect 15 to 20% of Jews who are committed to Orthodox Judaism. Counterbalancing this are those who have a very strong ethnic identity. They feel staunchly Jewish. To this group, Jewishness is at the center, religion subservient to one's Jewishness. And these two positions play themselves out in varying degrees with respect to the three categories of mitzvot. To the non-practicing Jew who self-defines him or herself as traditional, the mishpatim pose no problem as long as it does not interfere with one's ethnic identity. Although it should be noted that the taboos against marrying out are far weaker now than in the recent past. The Eidut category are observed up to a point as long as they support ethnic identity. Those aspects that are in conflict with the desire to acculturate are generally discarded. The chukim, along with those requirements that are somewhat onerous, are generally not observed. Where God fits into the picture would be an interesting question. To the practicing Jew, whether centrist Orthodox, Hasidic or Yeshivish, all mitzvot carry the same weight. However, in reality, the mishpatim and the eidut can possibly reflect a lesser expression of total emunah, of man's following the mitzvot as mitzvot, simply because both the eidut and the mishpatim categories do not pose an intellectual challenge to the rational thinking man. With respect to the third category, the chukim, however, it is here that the individual is expressing a total commitment obligations. One needs to rely on emunah, on faith from an all-gracious God. They would somehow benefit the individual in one way or another. We began this journey with Rashi's commentary of the KORBAN OLAH is an expression of compliance to God. Nachat ruach lefanai, I draw satisfaction and contentment. Shamarti, that I commanded, v'na'aseh ritzoni, and my wishes were complied with. The Rebbe in the SICHAH raised a number of issues. Firstly, each and every one of the Tariag mitzvot reflects a compliance to God. So why here specifically does God mention that the burning of the KORBAN OLAH expresses the nachat ruach that is drawn from compliance to this act? We also touched upon the fact that the very first time this term is used, Bereshit 8:21, the korbanot of Noach, after leaving the Teva, Vayarach Hashem et reach hanechoach, yet Rashi doesn't offer any commentary there, for which the Rebbe argued no commentary was needed, because the fact that Vayarach Hashem et reach hanechoach is understandable. Noach's expression of gratitude resulted in a positive impact and caused a reciprocal response from God in vowing never to destroy mankind as he did with the Mabul. A similar line of thinking with the Reach Nechoach Lefnei Hashem at the dedication of the Mishkan. God was pleased with the actions of the people in establishing a symbolic abode. Problematic, though, is the commentary that Rashi makes to the Reach Nechoach LaHashem in Vayikra 1:9. Firstly, the need for any commentary, and secondly, with respect to the content of the commentary, in that the Nachat Ruach derived from the compliance in fulfilling the requirements of the KORBAN OLAH is no different to the compliance factor that is to be found in all mitzvot. In response, the Rebbe reads into Rashi that the compliance factor relating to the korbanot is unique and stands apart from all other mitzvot. Once one has accepted a God who is able to and does communicate with man, all three categories of mitzvot have a place in logic. Observance of the mishpatim category, the building blocks of society. On a symbolic level, they provide us with moral direction. Similarly, the Eidut category, sure, they are commandments from God, do have a role in linking the past with the present, and for those who wish to, there is also a real-life role for these mitzvot in that they tend to elevate daily activities to the level of divine service. And even in the area of chukim, one can accept the fact that with their fulfillment they do express to a certain extent a pure commitment to God's commandments. Embedded into the chukim is a trust factor that an all-knowing, compassionate God would not demand the illogical and the purposeless from a thinking human being. So from the standpoint of the committed Jew, we may not understand, but we trust that there is a purpose for all mitzvot, including the chukim. The demand that the korban olah be burnt in its entirety upon the mizbeach poses a problem. Problem is what is gained with the burning of the animal upon the mizbeach. God, as we noted earlier, does not need the korban per se. God does not physically savor the aroma. Man, on the other hand, gains nothing from the burning of the meat and bones upon the mizbeach. Furthermore, burning of meat, bones, and skin is not a reach nechoach, and therefore absolutely nothing is gained to any of the participants with this korban olah. And this is precisely the point that the Rebbe reads into Rashi, that because there is no gain, and nevertheless the individual fulfills this obligation simply because God had commanded him or her to do so, expresses the ultimate nachat ruach lefanai, the ultimate source of pleasure to God, shamarti, that I gave them a commandment that has no place in logic, and nevertheless such a commandment is fulfilled by the nation. In the following segment of the SICHAH, that the Rebbe teases out in more detail the differences in the compliance factor between the chukim and that of the korban olah.